smoking item.
Okay. Again, item 5 passes with 3 ayes, 1 no. Jenkins to continue to the November 19th CED meeting. Reading in item number 4, adopt an ordinance amending Oakland Municipal Code Chapter 8.30, the Smoking Pollution Control Ordinance, to 1, prohibit vaping in all places where smoking is prohibited by the ordinance, 2, prohibit smoking in dwelling units in multi-unit housing, 3, require owners of dwelling units in multi-unit housing to disclose smoking prohibitions to prospective purchasers and prospective tenants, and to post signage in common areas stating that smoking is prohibited in dwelling units, and 4, prohibit smoking in unenclosed areas of bars. And there are 35 speakers on this item.
Okay, the 90 seconds continues, so we're still in the 90-second time frame for per speaker. Okay, thank you. I'm going to just present a summary of this ordinance as well. Just 1 second, let me get the thing up here. Okay, again, the ordinance and a supplemental version of it made some slight changes, was submitted into the packet. So that's all public, including the staff report and as well as a slightly updated staff report, as probably you've all seen. Those of you who are here to speak on this, I'm sure you've seen. So here's what this ordinance does. First of all, it prohibits smoking in the outdoor sections of bars. Just to clarify, we already have a number of state and local laws. We have state laws and we have our own local no smoking ordinance that already exists in our city. It has existed for quite a number of years. Interestingly, in our city, while smoking in restaurants is already prohibited indoors and outdoors, the outdoor sections of restaurants, bars, for some reason, only the indoor section was prohibited, and you are currently, under today's law, allowed to smoke in the outdoor section of a bar. This would change that. This would say, no, you can't smoke in the outdoor sections of bars as well, and that would basically expand our prohibition of smoking to the outdoor section of bars. This also, just to clarity, vaping would become under the definition of smoking, as a number of other cities have done, and a certain place in state law has also done. So the idea of vaping also becomes under the definition of smoking, whatever you're vaping. It's part of the definition of smoking. And then the next part of this, let me make sure I'm not missing anything here. So hold on a second. The next part of this prohibits smoking in residential units. This includes both rental units and condominiums, ownership units, both. And so a number of cities have done that already. Berkeley does that. A number of other cities have done that for a number of years. This would institute a prohibition on smoking inside rental units. Now, again, we already have a no smoking law in place. And that no smoking law includes the common areas of residential buildings, again, condominium, as well as rental buildings. This would add the actual rental units, the actual rental units or condominium units as well to that prohibition. But I want to make note, and I don't know if, so we do have a city attorney on Zoom for any questions, but we wanted to make sure that under our current just cause eviction ordinance and rules, that this law is not going to all of a sudden create a bunch of evictions. And so what we're doing is making sure that if you live somewhere today and you're a renter and there's no prohibition, there's nothing in your lease, let's say there's no prohibition on you smoking in your unit, this law is not going to all of a sudden be a cause for eviction. You get kicked out. Now, if you're creating some nuisance and you're a habitual smoker and you get a lot of complaints, your existing law already could allow you, might lead to a possible eviction. But we're not changing that reality for people who are already there. Going forward, though, this law would take effect, and any new person moving in is subject to this law. and there would be a prohibition. And of course, you would know that in advance. And you would know that you're entering into a no smoking building and no smoking unit and so on. And so the idea is that we don't want to add a bunch more evictions beyond what could already be happened today, but we do want to create a system for no smoking in the units themselves. The existing law has, which is a broad no smoking law, has a set of fines that already exist in law, $100, $200, $500 for multiple offenses as you go up more offenses. But for this, that law is not changed, with the one exception that if you are breaking the law as a renter in a rental unit, the maximum fine you can get is only $50. And you have to get a warning first before that. Now, fines don't happen very often when it comes to smoking, but we do want to at least put something in writing saying, listen, you shouldn't be smoking at all. I do have one exception. I know you'll hear a lot about that from people in the public. The one exception that we have here, and that only applies to rental units, to the individual residential units, is that we don't explicitly ban cannabis smoking inside the residential units. However, we make it clear, both in current law and in this new law, we make it very clear that rental property owners and condominium owners and HOAs can add the ban on cannabis if they choose to, as they could today. So if they want to add cannabis to the ban, they certainly can. Some already have in their leases, but if they want to do that, they can add that in, but we're not doing that citywide automatically. I believe Laura Lane, our city attorney on Zoom. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, did I leave anything out? Was that a good summary?
I think so, yes.
Okay, well, as questions come up, we'll clarify anything. We'll take any clarifying questions initially with my colleagues here in the council, then we'll hear public speakers, and then we'll come back for council deliberation. Councilmember Jenkins, you have your hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Kyle. Thank you for carrying this. Questions around the enforcement mechanism. A lot of things that we do in Oakland, we put out good ordinances and laws, but how do we enforce it? Are we amenable to exemptions for medical cannabis users? I know you just said that cannabis would be up to the housing providers and everything. Is any room for exemptions on medical cannabis users? On this, where does liability fall? And then where are the business owners on this, like the Chamber of Commerce? I'd like to hear where they're at on this.
Well, yeah, there are some people here who will answer that last question. My initial contact with EBRA, for example, seemed that, oh, I like this. That was their response. But if they're here, they'll speak for themselves. So I don't want to speak out of turn. In terms of your previous question, again, we have a very significant no smoking ordinance already. And to the extent that there is enforcement that goes on, there's enforcement that goes on. I don't think this is going to add much to that because we already have a pretty broad no smoking ordinance. In terms of the ownership side of the equation in condominiums, and by the way, over the past 10 years, I've gotten a number of people who are condominium owners living in a condominium complex, with very densely, and they've been asking for this. They want this because they don't smoke, but some of their neighbors do, and they want their HOA to ban it, and the HOA is kind of split, and so they want it citywide, and so like other cities have done, we're finally getting around to doing it here. And the rental side of the equation, some landlords already have this in their lease. And if people are habitual smokers, then they're breaking the lease and they could be subject to eviction. I don't know if that happens very often, but they could be. Now that just expands that reality for tenants going forward, not going back, but going forward. So I don't know if that answers your question. The city attorney is here also to answer the questions. Oh, and so your other question about medical cannabis. The city council can do whatever it wants. If we want to have a specific exemption for medical cannabis before it passes on the floor, we could do that. So that's up to us.
So thank you for that. I think two questions. You got to most of it. The enforcement mechanism. How do we enforce this? Second, let's say, for example, there's a bar, and we pass this ordinance. Right? There's a bar. They're allowing smoking. Someone sues. Is the liability on the business owner? Is the liability on the city for not enforcing it? Like, where does the liability fall on this?
You're saying if somebody is, like, you're talking about, you said the bar, the outdoor section of a bar? Well, again, we already have a prohibition in the indoor section of bars, and we have prohibitions in restaurants. If somebody, and those are private and businesses, if somebody is breaking the law by smoking, usually the business owner would tell the person to stop, and that usually does it. But if not, people could file a complaint, and it's up to the business owner, to work with code enforcement as they already do. So again, we're not changing that. Again, we're just extending it to the outdoor section of a bar. And I will tell you right now, the employees of these bars who are serving people outdoors or bartending outdoors, sometimes they have actual bars outdoors, they would love this. They've told me they would love it because they're the ones who are being subjected to secondhand smoke and against their will because they work there. So I hope that answers that question. Colleagues, any questions, or should we go to public speakers? Okay, Madam Clerk, let's hear the public speakers, and again, 90 seconds per person.
In no particular order, you can come up to the podium. I'll call out your names. And if you're on Zoom, please raise your hand to be identified. Megan Elliott, Nicole Redler, Brandon Azevedo, Camille Cummings, Marina Spiegel, Jimmy Ensira, Bia Helene, Tina Tonka, Teresa Lamb, Brian Davis, Bob Gordon,
But you're not on there, you didn't sign up yet, or you didn't, oh.
Kate Rodman, Amaya Wooding, Paul Cummings, Anupama Puri, Leon Chu, Rachel Gratz Lazarus, Nefer Pelly, Vera Inu Terrace, Kaylin Kelly, Louis Santos, Derek Barnes, Max Gila, David Stracan, Sherry Brooks, Jason Cross, David Wingate, Sim Sidhu, Tracy Andrews, Joseph Hayden, Lucy Wu, Leanna Liagnor, Kieran Shinoy, Elizabeth Williams, and Gabriel Sai. Please state your name for the record.
Camille Cummings.
Hi.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Camille Cummings, and I am a member of the African American Tobacco Control Leadership Council. We are a national public policy agency that advocates, for the Black community, communities of color, and other vulnerable populations who are often left out of life-saving public health legislation. Today, I would like to discuss the importance of protecting those who work on Oakland's bar patios from the deadly harms of secondhand smoke. Just a few weeks ago, AB 1775 was signed into law, allowing on-site cannabis consumption at establishments that sell food. Please be aware that smoke is smoke, and regardless of the substance, there is no safe level of exposure. AB 1775 directly undermines the state smoke-free restaurants law. So now's the time more than ever to pass strong citywide policies that protect everyone's right to breathe clean, smoke-free air. Let's not forget that the issue of commercial tobacco and now increasingly commercially manufactured marijuana is rooted in the historical predatory marketing practices used by the tobacco industry to target the Black community and other vulnerable populations. Statistics show that the commercial tobacco industry targets the Black community with more advertisements, more lucrative promotions, and easier access to cheaper and more addictive products. Thank you.
My name is Jimmy. Good afternoon, Council. I am the Community Health Outreach Worker for LGBTQ tobacco and a member of the Alameda Tobacco Control Coalition. It's unfortunate that employees working at bars allowing smoking on their patios often find themselves facing hours of exposure to toxic secondhand smoke throughout their shift. This issue hits close to home to me as I've witnessed the impact on family members who have had to work in restaurants and bars where smoking was allowed. One family member, my uncle, used to work in the kitchen of a restaurant bar when indoor smoking was still permitted. Each day after work, he would come home smelling like smoke, and my cousin would experience terrible coughing fits. My aunt and uncle had no idea what was going on. Eventually, they took him to the doctor, and they discovered that the coughing was asthma attacks triggered by the lingering scent of smoke on my uncle and his clothing. They were obviously shocked and at a loss of what to do. My uncle was undocumented and the sole breadwinner for a family of four. He needed this job to provide. It was a difficult and a significant decision, but ultimately, my uncle quit his job to protect my cousin's health. I'm not going to sugarcoat things, but they faced quite a lot of challenges during this transition, making it harder for them. My cousin's health significantly improved once my uncle quit, which made it clear that the decision was the right choice. Unfortunately, a younger cousin of mine wasn't as lucky. He worked at a bar in the Bay Area picking up glasses that had outdoor smoking area. It's the only job he could find that paid a livable wage that wasn't back-breaking construction work. He had to endure secondhand smoke throughout his shifts for several years and constantly complained about it. His experience isn't unique, and research finds that many of the bar workers in Alameda County are often young, low-income, and POC. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Brian Azevedo, and I am the Associate Director of Policy at the Alameda Contra Costa Medical Association. We represent 6,000 East-based physicians, including many living and practicing in the city of Oakland. Our members practice in a variety of specialties and care environments. We strongly support the city's efforts to mitigate secondhand smoke and outdoor patio, and also want this committee to consider the needs of people who live in multi-unit housing and are being exposed to all kinds of toxic smoke before moving the multi-unit housing piece of this resolution forward. Smoking and vaping endanger the health of the individual and those around them. Patrons and employees of bars should be safe and protected from harmful secondhand smoke. Exposure to secondhand smoke can result in respiratory problems, cancer, and other short and long-term health outcomes. It's important that public policy protects the health of our communities, especially those who are most vulnerable. By enacting this ban on smoking and vaping on bar patios, Oakland can protect residents and working by reducing exposure to secondhand smoke that harms their physical health. Please support this item so Oakland can join the numerous other cities and counties that have already chosen to protect their residents and workers. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Kate Rodman. I'm a tobacco prevention intern at Breathe, California of the Bay Area. We're your local lung leader serving the Bay Area since 1911. While I want to emphasize that the proposed smoke-free ordinance for bar patios is a good thing, I urge you to reconsider the section allowing cannabis smoke in multi-unit housing complexes. Breathe, California strictly opposes the exemption of cannabis smoke. Smoke is smoke, whether it's tobacco or cannabis. This is a problem for me, Breathe, California, and the entire community because the entire basis of the ordinance becomes unenforceable if you allow cannabis smoke to remain in multi-unit housing living areas. This decision disregards those with health complications like asthma or respiratory issues. I want to reiterate, there is no safe level of secondhand smoke. Secondhand smoke is not just from tobacco smoke. All types of smoke linger and remain in air particles and can cause lung damage to those who are vulnerable. Breathe, California has a secondhand smoke helpline, which has been in operation for over 30 years, and we've gotten as many or more calls about cannabis smoke as we do with tobacco smoke. It has become an even more critical issue since the pandemic with so many people working from home, and there's clear evidence that secondhand cannabis smoke is just as toxic as secondhand tobacco smoke. With this in mind, please consider removing the cannabis exemption altogether instead of relying on individual multi-unit housing contracts to do this. There are many ways to protect residents and still allow people to indulge in cannabis smoking if that is the council's priority. Please consider this information in your decision. Thank you.
Good afternoon, members of the City Council. My name is Nefer Kelly, and I stand here before you today, not just as a concerned citizen, as a mother and advocate who cares about the health and well-being of our community. A lot of times I have gone out with my friends to any bar or any restaurant, and it's very disappointing to see smoking and vaping in patios. It has become like very common. And it's almost like we're sending a message that if it's comment, then it's allowed and it's okay for your health, and it's not. I'm not gonna go around like saying the details of why smoking is dangerous, but it really affects us, the ones that choose not to smoke, because we are exposed. And it's something that is imposed to you, even if you're a waiter. I used to be a waiter, my sister is a waiter, and it really affects them directly. So there's a lot of research that has shown that smoke-free environments not only reduces secondhand smoke exposures, but also encourage smokers to reduce consumptions or even quit altogether. In a study conducted by various cities that have gone smoke-free, many smokers reported feeling motivated to quit when they were in the smoke-free spaces. So this was at the American Journal of Public Health in 2005. Thank you.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Anupama Puri, and I'm a community health outreach worker with the Tobacco Control Program at the Alameda County Public Health Department. For the past 2 years, we've been tracking smoking complaints submitted to our department by Oakland residents in multi-unit housing. I'd like to share some insights from our smoking complaint data that out of 58 complaints received from Oakland, 49% were related to tobacco, 27% to cannabis, and 22% involved both. Based on a public opinion poll survey conducted from 2018 to 2022 with Oakland residents living in multi-unit housing, 51 residents reported being exposed to secondhand tobacco smoke, 57% reported exposure to secondhand marijuana smoke, and 19.4% reported exposure to secondhand electronic vape smoke. In jurisdictions where our program handles the initial complaints, such as unincorporated Alameda County, City of Alameda, and City of Emeryville, our data shows that warning letters that include clear educational information have successfully changed violator behavior, and importantly, there have been no evictions in areas that have established comprehensive smoke-free policies. I hope this information is useful as you consider the best policies for Oakland residents. Thank you.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Marina Spiegel, and my partner and daughter and I live in District 5. Our daughter was born shortly before the COVID pandemic, and oh yes, of course. Oh, there I am. Our daughter was born shortly before the COVID-19 pandemic when I was working as a frontline healthcare worker. I remember coming home and changing all of my clothes on the porch so that I didn't bring anything home to my family. Now that that's over and that our daughter is a little bit older, my husband and I enjoy a little bit of a date night. We enjoy, and recently we visited a bar that used to be one of our favorites. The bar has an outdoor patio that's surrounded by tall walls and one entrance, and it had inviting ashtrays and was covered in smoke and smoke residue. We quickly moved indoors and found that even after one quick drink indoors at that establishment, our clothes were covered in that second and third hand smoke. We smelled like smoke. So coming back home, I changed again on the porch, remembering those early COVID memories. We never went back to that bar, and I couldn't imagine working there again. So 1 and 2 bargoers feel the same way that I do, that they would more likely to go to the same bars if those bars were smoke-free. Thank you.
Hello, community and economic development community members. My name is Teresa Lam, and I am a member of the Alameda County Tobacco Control Coalition. While there is a broad smoking law in place already that covers some things, the proposed smoke-free multi-unit housing ordinance is missing some components that can really cover all the bases of a comprehensive smoke-free housing ordinance and protect all individuals from the harms of smoke. A comprehensive smoke-free housing ordinance law includes no smoking or vaping in all units of a building, applies to all multi-unit housing, which includes apartments, townhomes, condos, and duplexes. And not only does it just cover inside the unit, but in the common areas as well, so indoor and outdoor, as well as patios and balconies. It also applies equally to all multi-unit housing residents, and the ordinance will equally apply to tobacco and cannabis smoke. Lastly, the proposed ordinance is missing an equitable decision-making process that includes all key stakeholders, including residents of multi-unit housing, property owners, and enforcement agencies, and other health professionals. And this is needed in order to ensure an eviction protections process as well as a fair enforcement process along the way too. Thank you, committee, for taking your time in discussing this issue.
Good afternoon, committee members. My name is Fia Helene, and I am a District 1 resident, community health educator, and member of the San Francisco Tobacco-Free Coalition. I am here to speak in support of smoke-free housing and smoke-free bars and patios. Over 100 California cities and counties have smoke-free bars and patios, including over 50 in the Bay Area. Oakland already protects workers in outdoor environments like restaurants and concession lines, but patio workers deserve the same protection. When smoked, cannabis, tobacco, and electronic cigarettes or vape products produce secondhand and thirdhand smoke. There are no safe levels of exposure. There are also many smoke-free alternatives for cannabis and tobacco, such as chew edibles, tinctures, inhalers that will protect community health from exposure. Smoke is smoke. It does not discriminate. It affects everyone, particularly vulnerable populations such as low-income families with children, elders, and immunocompromised folks who are most likely to live in MUH housing. This policy is a necessary protection for these communities. However, the inclusion of cannabis exemption undermines the effectiveness of the policy. Differentiating between cannabis and tobacco smoke is nearly impossible from an implementation perspective, complicating enforcement for property managers, bar owners, and code enforcement. Effective enforcement is essential to protect our community, especially those disproportionately affected by drifting smoke. Thank you for your time.
Hello, council members. My name is Nicole Redler. I am the founder of Recompass, and I am here today as a small business owner, renter, and Oakland resident of District 3, and a representative of California Normal. Through my organization, Recompass, we support many low-income medical cannabis patients who rely on this medicine to survive and thrive. The Bay Area is the birthplace of the medical cannabis movement, which emerged during the AIDS epidemic to provide relief when no other options were available. We support the proposed smoking ban as written, with the exemption for cannabis in multi-unit dwellings. For many, especially those in low-income and marginalized communities, banning cannabis smoke at home effectively bans their access to medicine, as cannabis cannot be consumed in public. This is an issue of healthcare equity. Protecting this exemption reaffirms Oakland's commitment to vulnerable patients and preserves the compassionate values that the city has long championed. In regards to AB 1775, which does not allow cannabis consumption, but allows licensed cannabis retailers who hold a consumption license, which is still banned in most of the state due to local licensing control, allows these already licensed consumption lodges to sell non-cannabis food and beverage products only in this licensed facility. Cities like West Hollywood, San Jose, and San Francisco have rejected similar bans to cannabis use in homes. Oakland should do the same to maintain its leadership in human rights and cannabis policy. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Bob Gordon. I'm a volunteer with the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network and also a member of the Alameda County Tobacco Control Coalition. I'd like to speak about two provisions. First, the smoke-free bar patios. Look, there's absolutely no safe level of exposure to any kind of smoke in any kind of venue, okay? Be it tobacco, be it electronic smoking devices, be it cannabis. And less than 10% of California adults smoke. So allowing smoking on bar patios excludes the other 90% who need to breathe. And the workers, especially those with health conditions, just doing their job with asthma, heart disease, and cancer. Now, regarding smoke-free multi-unit housing, again, a comprehensive policy would regulate smoking of tobacco, cannabis, and e-cigarettes. All must be restricted. All are dangerous. And exempting cannabis from the policy will make enforcement impossible. Cannabis smoke exposure has to stop. Nobody has the right in smoking anything to cause drifting smoke in another unit in the apartment building. Cannabis smoke must not be exempted because cannabis smoke is harmful. It drifts and it's harmful for Oakland families. Thank you.
Hello, Council. My name is Leon. I'm here today speaking on behalf of Alameda County Tobacco Control Coalition. I want to emphasize the importance of a comprehensive smoke-free multi-unit housing policy in Oakland that protects residents from the harmful impacts of both tobacco and cannabis. Oakland can follow in the footsteps of other Alameda County cities that have prohibited all smoking in multi-unit housing with no exemptions, including Alameda, Albany, Berkeley, Emeryville, and unincorporated Alameda County. The city of Berkeley and Marin County were early adopters of smoke-free multi-unit housing policies that exempted marijuana, and both have recently passed revised ordinances to now include prohibition of cannabis smoking inside dwelling units, indoor, and outdoor common areas of multi-unit residences. Other Bay Area jurisdictions who have adopted 100% smoke-free multi-unit housing policies include El Cerrito, Concord, Vallejo, Belmont, Belvedere, Benicia, Clayton, Cupertino, Corte Madera, Larkspur, Milpitas, Mill Valley, Millbrae, Monte Sereno, Nevada, Pacifica, Pinole, Redwood City, Rohnert Park, Santa Clara, Petaluma, San Bruno, San Carlos, Sausalito, San Mateo, Windsor, Foster City, Healdsburg, Santa Rosa, Sonoma, South San Francisco, Sunnyvale, Walnut Creek, and many more. Protecting people from secondhand smoke exposure, both tobacco and cannabis smoke, is a public health benefit. Thank you for your consideration.
Hi, good afternoon, Council. My name is Kaylin Kelly, and I'm the co-chair of the San Francisco Tobacco Free Coalition. I want to speak briefly about the importance of having a robust education with regard to cannabis and its exemption from the smoke-free multi-unit housing ordinance. In 2005, I was robbed and shot, and I sustained an injury that left me partially paralyzed on the upper right part of my torso. Fortunately, I was able to receive a prescription for medicinal cannabis, which I used indiscriminately, I must say, inside of homes, inside of multi-unit housing, where I probably have resided for the majority of my life. But here's the thing. I didn't understand how my usage of cannabis, medicinal or not, impacted those that were living amongst me. And I was a person who said I cared about everybody, I loved everybody. However, I learned that nothing could be further from the truth. When I learned about secondhand smoke and how it's like radio waves, ultraviolet rays, right? We don't see these waves, but they impact our lives immensely. It's the same thing with secondhand smoke. We don't see it as it travels through the vents, through the electrical sockets, but it impacts our lives immensely, particularly those that are disproportionately impacted from predatory marketing campaigns of the tobacco corporations and pre-existing health conditions. I urge you to consider leaving the exemption in the smoke-free multi-unit housing ordinance, leaving it out, rather. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Council. I'm Steve Edrington, been a rental property owner for a long time.
Sorry, to the chair, we do not have a speaker card. Would you still like to allow him to speak?
Derek gave me his time to me. Derek Barnes.
Right. Say, Madam Clerk,
We do not have a speaker card for.
did you sign up?
No.
Derek Barnes gave me his time.
You have to actually have signed up to get someone else's time seated, but I'm going to give you 1 minute. That's it.
All right, fair enough. All right, been a property owner for a long time. I can assure you nobody likes smoke. It's dangerous to people breathing it. It's dangerous if you ever had to clean up a unit after somebody has smoked. It's really disgusting, and it's a fire hazard. The issue that we have here is how are we going to enforce it? It's great for you to pass laws, but we're the people that have to enforce it. Are we going to call 911 and say somebody's smoking in Unit 3? Please come over and arrest them? That's crazy. How do we do it? And so the issue is, how do we enforce this law? Nobody wants smoking. People do smoke. It's the landlord, the property manager that has to go bang on the door and say, you can't do that. So can you make it a material terms of tenancy? How do we say if you don't stop smoking, how do we enforce it? I don't think you want us to call 911 to enforce this ordinance. So I think this really has to get thought through because somebody has to go out and bang on somebody's door and say, you can't smoke on your patio, you can't hurt other people. And I think this is not as well thought out as it should be. Thank you.
Hold on a second. Laura Lane, the city attorney, are you there?
I am.
Okay, did you hear the gentleman's comment?
I did.
Okay, so of course, under today's law, there's already no smoking in common areas, as you know.
I know that.
And also under today's, not really law, but under today's what's allowed, various rental property owners have already prohibited by their choice in their leases, and there are no smoking building and units. They already have that that requirement. Laura, could you, Ms. Lane, could you explain how the new law would change or not change what happens now with rental property owners in terms of their oversight and their ability to put this in the lease and make it a material cause and so on? If you could talk about that, Laura, I'd appreciate that.
Well, under state law, landlords are already allowed to add a smoking prohibition to their lease. So that hasn't changed. This ordinance doesn't explicitly require owners to add such a provision to their lease, but they wouldn't really have any enforcement mechanism against a tenant unless they added it to a lease. They can't add it to an existing lease, as you said. If a tenant's protected under the just cause ordinance, they can't unilaterally change the terms of the tenancy unless the tenant wants to agree to that. But for new tenancies, they can include a smoking prohibition in the lease.
So to your comment, whether this law passes or not, but certainly if it does, the rental property owners can and probably should put this into the leases going forward, and then it becomes in the lease. And that's part of the way, or a way to enforce it. We also noticed that there's a relatively new state law, and Laura, correct me if I'm wrong, that doesn't allow the city to force you to put it into your lease, but you are certainly allowed to and encouraged to, and other rental
I
property
think
owners.
majority of people are. I think the common practice is people are putting that in their lease.
Yeah, and others would then add to that after this passes. And so, yeah, no one's gonna be calling 911 to say, hey, someone's smoking. We don't have time to deal with that. But people can be fined if they're habitual smokers and become a nuisance. That could lead to something.
Who's gonna fine them? You?
The city would be allowed to fine them, even though that's very rare. Again, we have an existing law that has fines in it, and that's rarely used, even though it is allowed. This would be an additional situation, $50 fine. It's not likely to happen, but legally it could.
It's not gonna happen, but the point is, but I have to go out with a warning notice, and I have to warn the tenant and say, hey, you're in violation of the lease, you're in violation of this law, and I have to do a warning notice because that's required under the just cause ordinance. But it's on to the property owner, property manager to enforce that, because other people are calling and saying, guy number 3 is smoking and he's bothering me. So the point is, you're putting those issues onto the property owner to enforce them in multifamily.
The no smoking requirements that already exist, like in the common areas, are already doing that.
I agree, but you're adding more things that we're having a hard time enforcing.
That's right. In order to protect public health, we are adding this to that situation. And how a property owner or a condominium HOA over there, they'll choose how to do that. Putting it into a lease or the HOA agreement, probably a good idea, but that's up to you guys.
Okay, but at the end of the day, if somebody doesn't do what I asked them to do, then they can't live there, and you're forcing me to evict them if they're smoking and violating the house rules. That's the only remedy the property owner has.
Yes, if someone is a habitual smoker and a nuisance, to the point of being a nuisance, that they can be subjected to a potential eviction. That's correct.
That's very difficult, and people come here all day and they're saying, hey, we don't have enough housing, protect us. Now you're making us go out and be the bad guys and have to evict them.
For those who already have it in their lease that prohibit smoking in the units, that's already the situation. You already have that situation. We're not changing that situation. We're just expanding the number of units that would have the situation to all buildings. But that situation already exists for those who already have it in their lease, as you know. Okay, we have enough back and forth. We have to go on for more comments.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Rachel Gratz-Lazarus, and I'm an Alameda County Tobacco Control Coalition member, reading a comment on behalf of Sherry Brooks, an Oakland resident living in multi-unit housing suffering from the effects of secondhand smoke. My name is Sherry, and I've lived in my apartment and no smoking fourplex in Oakland for 14 years. In March of 2022, I started waking up as early as 3 a.m., coughing and wheezing from secondhand smoke wafting into my unit. I struggle to breathe. The air gets so bad, I have to open the doors and windows at that time and leave them open all night long. It gets very cold inside and is not safe. I'm asking you to split the policy before you today, protecting workers by making bar patios smoke-free, while sending the smoke-free multi-unit housing part back for more discussion, so more people like me who are forced to breathe air that causes inflammation to our lungs and bodies from both tobacco and cannabis smoke can have a say in what goes on in their bodies. Tobacco, cannabis, and vapes can have over 7,000 chemicals, including 70 known to cause cancer. We are asking for a right to choose what goes in our bodies. Being exposed to secondhand smoke of any kind takes away our individual right to choose what goes in our lungs and bodies. Thank you.
Hello, City Council. Thank you. My name is Anthony Bowles. I am here today representing Americans for Safe Access, the nation's largest medical cannabis advocacy organization. We are in support of the ordinance as is without the removal of cannabis as an exemption. I just wanted to make a few points on that. So, unlike tobacco, marijuana smoke has been shown not to cause lung cancer. That's according to the National Academy of Sciences. Nor has secondhand marijuana smoke been proven to cause other serious disease in any human studies. This comes straight from the National Academy of Science. Unlike tobacco, smoked cannabis also has proven medical value for patients with nausea, appetite loss, chronic pain, muscle spasticity, and other conditions. A ban on residential cannabis smoking would constitute a de facto ban on marijuana for many Oakland residents. Unlike tobacco or alcohol, Oakland's residents cannabis is illegal to consume in any public place, so they don't have anywhere to go. We need a comprehensive lounge law still here in the city, so right now there would be no other alternative. So I ask you to please support the ordinance as is without the removal of cannabis, and even to go as far as saying not to make it medical, because most patients do not even get the state card or go to a doctor to get a recommendation. Since we have legalization, they don't want to pay that extra cost. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Samantha Sage, and I am an Oakland Cannabis Regulatory Commissioner, where I am very, very lucky to serve this amazing community. We are currently making legislation that would allow to have cafes and lounges in Oakland. Currently, as it stands, we do not. And if this legislation does pass with an amendment to exclude cannabis, that means that a huge number of Oakland residents, many that are sick, who are ill and require medical cannabis, will then be forced to not have any safe place at all to consume cannabis. This issue is incredibly deep. There's a lot of people that you don't see in the room right now who depend on this medicine. And I'm really grateful for you, Dan Kalb, for writing the legislation to consider these patients and the general population of people who want to consume safely and want to do so under current law. So thank you so much, and I do approve of this ban on smoking tobacco. Thank you.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Paul Cummings. I work for Alameda County Public Health Department, where I'm the Tobacco Control Program Director. I want to offer some technical assistance from our program, but first, I just want to share my outrage that someone would say that some smoke is safe and some smoke isn't. This is just ludicrous. and it really upsets me. It's just unfair and really disrespectful of the people who are exposed to secondhand smoke. That wasn't why I came up here, but hearing that people say some smoke is healthy or not killing people is really outrageous. My apologies for that, but it really upset me. We are willing to help you with educating renters and people who live in multi-unit housing. We're willing to help you with implementation and enforcement. We currently work with 3 enforcement agencies across the county where we collect the complaint calls, try to resolve them. And anyways, we're more than willing to work with the city of Oakland if it would be helpful, and I apologize for my outburst.
It's okay, no one ever has outbursts here in Oakland.
Good afternoon. I am Max Giello with the Oakland Chamber of Commerce, and I'm here to oppose this ordinance, not because we're in favor of smoking or dismissive of any of these legitimate health concerns, but we just feel like the process has been rushed and we're still gathering feedback from all of the stakeholders who will be affected, small businesses, property owners, and the like. So please do reconsider forwarding this, and I'm here for any additional questions. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Amaya Wooding, staff member at LGBTQ- Tobacco. Smoke-free bar patios are good for business. Prior to this meeting, we sent you the letter of support for this policy from the Bay Area Council, which is a regional chamber of commerce made up of over 300 of the Bay Area's largest employers. We've also gone around to bars that already have smoke-free patios, and here's what they said. Mike, co-owner of the Kingfish Pub and Cafe on Telegraph, said that he supports smoke-free bar patios because, quote, the Kingfish has been tremendously better since we went smoke-free. Elliot, co-owner of Hainold's First and Last Chance Saloon in Jack London, said there's more non-smoking customers than there are smoking customers. One smoking customer can drive away 2 or 3 people, but non-smokers aren't going to drive anyone away. His letter to the city council also stated, adopting a smoke-free regulation for outdoor patios would level the playing field by supporting owners and staff in refusing to serve patrons who insist on lighting up or vaping. I strongly support extending the 2008 ban at outdoor dining areas to banning smoking and vaping on outdoor patios of retail establishments not serving bona fide meals. Also, we've surveyed over 144 people over the last year at Oakland street events who can name specific bars with patios that they go to. We asked them how their attendance at bars would change if Oakland adopted a smoke-free bar patio law. 30% said they would go more, 60% said they would go less, and 60% said they were the same, and 10% said they would go less, which these are promising numbers, and it's worth underscoring that they don't reflect people who are excluded by the currently smoky conditions on bars that they just can't go to. Also, as far as cannabis and multi-unit housing, I think it's wrong to make other people take your medicine, since that's what happens when smoke drifts, and that's what's being claimed here, so thank you.
I'm a little confused on multifamily units or condos where you have a homeowners association. I lived in Shadow Woods, homeowners association. Any complaints has to come from the owner. 40% of the people who lived in the condo were renters, but they had no ability to make complaints. They could talk to their owner, and then the owner in turn could complain to the homeowners association membership when they had their meetings. This is crazy. So once they make a complaint on anything, the rules have specific guidelines on if you violate, the fines and fees are predetermined in a booklet that they give you every year annually. So are you saying that the homeowners association for each condo, if it exists, will determine any fines or fees? Or will there be a set fine or fee based on a violation of smoking in the condos where they have homeowners associations? That's what I'm confused about. Do you understand, Kyle? And I'm not finished. Okay. And I don't want it to stop with just smoking. We also have fire places where the smoke goes up, and if I'm upstairs, the downstairs smoke comes into my unit, and I have no ability to deal with that issue. Barbecuing on the downstairs unit comes up. I have no ability to deal with that smoke. And don't let it be a grill barbecue where the smoke is all impacting at one time. So we can't stop here. That's what I'm trying to say, Mr. Cobb. We have some other smoke issues with multifamily units that needs to be dealt with.
Thank you. Mr. Sada, I think I'll try to get an answer to that first question if you want to listen to that. Deputy City Attorney Lane, the part about the condominium associations, I know if the units are freestanding, detached, this doesn't apply at all. My understanding is, but if they are attached, like a condominium building, a bunch of condos and such. Could you explain or answer the question that she asked about the fines? And I know there are already existing law about prohibiting smoking in indoor and enclosed common areas in condominium complexes. And so there's a fine. Someone can be fined. So what's the terms of HOA versus the city fines? How's that work?
The ordinance does not provide for any fines by a homeowners association. The contract that the homeowners association has with for the homeowners could potentially include fines for violations, but the ordinance does not provide for that. It only provides for fines from the city.
Okay, so if HOAs already have their own process for penalizing or fining their condominium owners for doing something they shouldn't do, that is what it already is, and that's not changing. The city law that already exists has a $100 fine or $200 for a second offense, and that would apply here if there's enough of a complaint that could conceivably happen. Not likely, but it could happen. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Go ahead. Okay.
Brian Davis, Project Director of LGBTQ minus tobacco. Smoke-free bar patios would be a win-win-win for Oakland bars. Bar workers and customers would not have to breathe toxic smoke. The 70% of smokers who want to quit would have extra inspiration to meet that goal, and many customers would stay longer and come more often, offsetting any potential losses. We've spoken to smokers who go to patio bars in Oakland that have told us they would smoke on the sidewalk to protect workers' health and people with lung health problems, and who would appreciate the smoke-free space as an incentive to quit smoking. The study of Irish bars in San Francisco, after that city enforced the smoke-free bar interiors law, found that those bars made more money, or at worst, broke even. Statewide, bars made more money and bar workers kept their jobs after California required bar interiors to be smoke-free. Workers should not have to choose between their job and their health, and if they choose their job out of the fear of losing it, the evidence shows that fear to be unfounded. The Bay's Regional Chamber of Commerce, the Bay Area Council, supports smoke-free Bay bar patios, while representatives of the Rockridge District Association, Oakland Bid Alliance, Chinatown Bid, Uptown, Downtown Oakland, and Koreatown Northgate CBDs, and the Black Cultural Zone have taken neutral positions. The Alameda County Tobacco Control Coalition, of which our project is a member, has taken the position that the smoke-free bar patios portion of the ordinance should move forward, but that the smoke-free multi-unit housing policy with an exemption for cannabis should be delayed in order to equitably address the needs of people who live in multi-unit housing and are exposed to all kinds of toxic smoke, including cannabis. And we have 941 petition signatures for smoke-free bar patios, including bar workers and staff and management. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Zoom speakers? Okay.
Yes. Switching to Zoom users. Joseph Hayden, you can unmute yourself and begin your time.
Hi, yes, I'm Joseph Hayden with LGBTQ minus tobacco and the Alameda County Tobacco Control Coalition. Protecting bar staff should be a given. Staff members often must walk into patio areas, other places of employment. It is also unfair to patrons who want to breathe fresh air to have to be subjected to an uncontrolled amount of passive smoke in a confined area. We strongly support the passage of this aspect of the ordinance as written. I want to support adoption of a smoke-free multi-unit housing ordinance, but the burden of proof to show the type of smoke that is being forced on should not fall on the victims who may be wheelchair-bound or otherwise immune compromised from asthma, cancer, COVID, and any number of respiratory diseases. Smoke, which could be co-used with tobacco and cannabis, permeates through balconies, windows, and even electric sockets. Smokeless cannabis options abound. Oakland should prioritize the protection of its citizens rather than yielding to the cannabis industry talking points. Many California jurisdictions, including numerous cities in the Bay Area, have already implemented smoke-free multi-unit housing without a cannabis exception because it's the only thing that makes sense. Thank you.
Liz Williams, you can unmute yourself and begin your time. Liz Williams. Okay. Luis Santos. Luis Santos, you can unmute yourself and begin your time.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Luis, and I'm a resident of Oakland and a member of the Alameda County Tobacco Control Coalition. I wanted to express my support for prohibiting any smoke, such as tobacco, cannabis, and vaping, in bar patios to help protect the health of the community. Smoke-free bar patios are important because I know that there are no safe levels of secondhand smoke exposure. Secondhand smoke carries many of the risks of smoking, like increased risk of heart disease and stroke. For example, as little as 30 minutes of exposure can trigger a heart attack in a non-smoker. A local coalition of organizations and individuals have visited 22 Oakland bars with patios, speaking with owners or managers at 10 of them. Many of these bars have already chosen to make their patios smoke and vape free, and there are others who would be supportive or feel indifferent to being required to take that action. Bar patios should also be smoke free because they will help safeguard the health of the workers who are being exposed to secondhand smoke. Workers should not have to choose between their health and their paycheck. Workers and patrons on restaurant patios are protected from secondhand smoke, while those on bar patios are not. So I believe that making both smoke-free is an equitable solution to protect the workers' health, preventing them from any unwanted exposure to second and third-hand smoke. Thank you for your time.
Going back to Liz William, you can unmute yourself. Tracy Andrews, you can unmute yourself and begin your time.
Good afternoon, members of the Community and Economic Committee. My name is Tracy Andrews, and I'm a resident of Oakland living in multi-unit housing in District 1. I'm thrilled to have your committee consider passing the much overdue protections for employees working at bars with outdoor patios. I support a smoking prohibition inside dwelling units of multi-unit housing that includes no smoking and vaping of both tobacco and marijuana, thus complying with Prop 64 law passed in 2016. Proposition 64, the Adult Use of Marijuana Act, legalizes non-medical marijuana activities and restricts the smoking of marijuana while driving a car in any public place other than a business for on-site consumption and anywhere that smoking tobacco is prohibited. Marijuana is consumed in other ways that do not include combustion of this product. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on this discussion.
Gabriel Sai, you can unmute yourself and begin your time.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Gabriel Sai. I am a community health outreach worker at Alameda County Public Health Department's Tobacco Control Program. I will be providing information and highlighting that all smoke is harmful, whether it's smoke from tobacco, marijuana, or vape. All secondhand smoke produces harmful particulate matter known as PM 2.5. Secondhand smoke from marijuana has been found to also have the same chemicals as smoke from tobacco, including those linked to lung cancer. There are no ventilation systems that can protect non-smokers from secondhand smoke. This greatly impacts multi-unit housing residents, as 65% of the air in one apartment has been shown to come from nearby units. One study has found the rate of particulate matter emissions of pre-rolled marijuana joints to be 3.5 times the average particulate matter emission rate of tobacco cigarettes. Smoking inside increases concentrations of PM 2.5 and exposes others to dangerous marijuana smoke emissions. Allowing marijuana use inside units complicates the enforcement of no smoking policies for any other substances. Lastly, Under California's Prop 64, marijuana is prohibited anywhere that smoking tobacco is prohibited. Thank you for your time.
Jason Cross, you can unmute yourself and begin your time.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. My name is Jason Cross. I'm a health educator with Breathe California. Our agency has stringent opposition to the proposed ordinance exempting cannabis unless amended. Excluding cannabis or any other smoking from regulation would make the ordinance unenforceable and therefore meaningless for protection for secondhand smoke for Oakland's residents who live in multi-unit housing. This decision to allow marijuana smoke disregards the feelings of those who have health complications like asthma and respiratory issues. Allowing cannabis smoke but prohibiting tobacco smoke makes the whole ordinance weak. We have to be all or nothing. We cannot have one type of smoke being allowed and one being banned. It is all bad for your health. I want to reiterate, there is no safe level of secondhand smoke. Secondhand smoke is not just from tobacco smoke. All types of smoke linger and remain in air particles and can cause lung damage to those who are vulnerable. In addition, we believe that such a move will silence disadvantaged communities from even asking for the right to a healthy environment, as they already fear eviction if they anger landlords. Who will make the determination of which smoke is affecting them? No one. Landlords will not want to get in the middle of this decision. Nothing will be done. It would be better to have no ordinance and let victims of secondhand smoke feel empowered to complain than to codify the right of cannabis smokers that hurt their neighbors. And what message does this send to our youth? That secondhand cannabis smoke is not harmful, that cannabis must be good.
Thank you for your comments. David Wingate, you can unmute yourself and begin your time.
Hi guys. Oh my goodness.
My name's David Wingate. I live in District 1 and I want to thank Dan Cobb for promoting this ordinance. I'd like to comment on the smoke-free bar patios. First, secondhand smoke is dangerous inside or outside. That's why smoking is already prohibited in outdoor areas of restaurants. So why are bars exempted? This is a loophole that Oakland should close, as many other cities and counties have done. My second point is that this is a workers' rights issue. Bar workers should not be forced to choose between their health and their job. I was in a similar position in the 80s and 90s when smoking was allowed in office buildings. I didn't like the smoke, but I didn't want to quit my job. We need laws to ensure that workers don't have to choose between their health or their job. And my third point is that tobacco is highly addictive. We all know that. It's very hard to stop when you're addicted. And as a recovering addict myself, I know what it's like. It's better not to start in the first place. The problem is when people are smoking in a social setting like a bar, it can be very inviting for someone to start smoking for the first time or to continue smoking when they're trying to quit. Making bar patios smoke-free will help people avoid or recover from tobacco addiction. Thank you.
Lucy Wu, you can unmute yourself and begin your time.
Hello?
Hi.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, great. Good afternoon, committee members. My name is Lucy Wu, and I'm a volunteer with the LGBTQ minus tobacco, and I support the smoke-free bar policy patio as it is, but I cannot support smoke-free multi-unit housing until it has no exemptions for cannabis. I like to sit outside when the weather is nice. I think lots of people do, and the smoke and vape kind of smoke ruins the atmosphere. It raises health concerns, and it feels kind of rude. Like I wouldn't want someone to come over to my table and sneeze on me the same way I wouldn't want someone else's smoke to come over to my table and like exist around me. But don't just take it from me. A survey of 144 people who regularly go to Oakland bar patios found that 30% of respondents would go to bar patios more if the city required patios to be smoke and vape free. And this isn't just about bar patrons, this also protects bar workers and it makes it a safer working environment. Workers in food services should have the same protections against secondhand smoke as workers in other fields. As for the comment about safe levels of cannabis smoke in housing, I know that there's already been a lot of science that's been spoken, and that's all true, but I think there's also something to be said about the kind of dread that happens when like someone just is smoking and there's no way to stop it. I live in multi-unit housing and I'm like, whoa, why is this happening? Like, it's just no good. Anyway, thank you for your time.
Trying one more time for Elizabeth Williams. You can unmute yourself. And then calling in the names that have not raised their hands on Zoom: David Strachan, Sim Sidhu, Kieran Shenoy, Leanna Liangor, and then Megan Elliott, Tina Tonka, and Vera Inoteris. Last call. Oh, okay. 1 moment. David, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and begin your time.
Yeah, I just unmuted. Yeah, good afternoon, committee members. My name is David Strachan, and I'm a friend of the LGBTQ tobacco group. And the smoke-free bar patios are important to me because I have a compromised immune system, and I'm conflicted about going to my neighborhood pub, mainly because so many people smoke on the patio out back. I've made several friendships over the past couple of years at this particular pub, and I have to choose between keeping connected to them or leaving to protect my health from secondhand smoke. Every time I visit the patio and my friends are smoking, I come home with a cough. I wish more people didn't smoke on bar patios. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. This will be the last call. If you signed up to speak on this item, please come up to the podium or raise your hand to be acknowledged. Chair, this concludes our speakers for this item.
Okay, thank you all. Really appreciate all the speakers who were here and those on Zoom. And I want to just also express my tremendous appreciation for the LGBTQ minus tobacco organization and the coalition, the broad coalition that is here today or that has been part of this effort for years. And I want to give them a certain amount of credit for coming to me with this about the bars and the overall need to reduce smoking and prohibit smoking in as many places as possible. And in more recently, I appreciate the coalition's recommendation to include vaping, which as you all know, in the supplemental version in the packet, we now include vaping in this prohibition. So vaping is now part of the definition of smoking, essentially. That's good. So colleagues, I want to just take any questions or comments you have. Councilmember Gallo and then Councilmember Five.
Yes, make a motion to approve the item.
Councilmember Five.
I would like a clearer answer to who enforces this law and what does happen with one of the public speakers' questions about barbecues, fireplaces, and perhaps incense. And then if I could also get a list of the places in Oakland that are, that this legislation would impact. Those are the three things that I'm looking for.
And what is the last thing I said again?
The locations that would be impacted, the bars where they have smoking on patios, where are they?
Yeah, I don't have any comprehensive list. Most bars don't have an outdoor area. The ones that do, some already prohibit smoking, some don't have any rules about it. I think someone mentioned the Kingfish, which is in my area, already prohibits smoking in their outdoor area. I think that's what I heard. But it varies. There's no comprehensive list of here are all the bars with outdoor patios and here's what they do. No such list exists.
So we don't, but is tobacco smoking allowed in like parklets?
If a
No.
parklet is part of a restaurant?
Yeah.
No,
No.
it is not. It's part of the outdoor section of a restaurant, and that's already prohibited under law.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that correct, Ms. Lane?
That's correct.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay, so what about those other two questions?
What's that?
Smoking and the other types of smoke that the public speaker raised.
Oh, that's beyond the scope. I totally agree with the sentiment and the suggestion about other types of smoke, but that's beyond the scope of this ordinance, which deals
Right,
with
okay.
smoke and tobacco. Yeah.
So we'll bring that back. And then who enforces this?
Well, code enforcement has always the ability to do so if it's asked to through a complaint. And the bar situation just today, we already prohibit smoking in the indoor section of bars. So if there's a complaint, conceivably, someone, if it's enough of a complaint, they can go to the owner, they can go to the code enforcement. Now that we would just extend it to the outdoor section, so it doesn't really change the situation, just adds an outdoor area. Most of these are probably dealt with the owner telling people, put your, or the manager, put your cigarette out, what are you doing here? And that's probably how it'll be self-enforced most of the time. There could be an occasional situation where it would rise to the level of code enforcement. That'll be rare. In the residential properties, again, we've already talked about the HOAs. In the rental units, again, this would be someone who's an habitual smoker. Again, Ms. Lane, our city attorney, please correct me if I say anything that's wrong or off base. But if somebody is an habitual smoker after this for a new tenant moving in after this prohibition goes into effect, they could be subject to eviction based on a nuisance, and this would become a material breach if it's in the lease, as it logically would be going forward because it's a part of the law. So yeah, I mean, again, we're people who are already kind of grandfathered in. That we're not changing the situation for those people. Whatever exists today exists for them already. But going forward, this is a prohibition. We're trying to stop smoking here, including in the residential units, which some cities, as we heard, some cities have already done this. So let me just bring up the part that I think was the most discussed comment about the cannabis question. Yeah, and so we heard from a lot of people who like the ordinance overall, except the provision that exempts cannabis outright. So what I'm willing to do is, I'd like to pass this on to the council, as Councilmember Gallo motioned, but I'm willing, and again, we have 3 weeks now, which is usually a long period of time between committee and council, so a lot of time to go back and forth, get more information. What I will do is put options into the agenda packet in a supplemental. The 3 options would be the first option is the way it's already in the packet today, which has a cannabis exemption, but of course allows property owners to exempt cannabis on their own in addition, which they can do. That's today's option. The second option would be to take out that prohibition and just include cannabis outright in the prohibition. And the third option would be to modify it to say that we're only exempting medical cannabis, which I know that raises questions, but I know Councilmember Jenkins brought that up. So I want to at least put that option in the packet. So there'd be 3 options for the full council to decide and debate, and amendments, because they're in the packet, amendments can be taken on the floor based on what's in the packet, leading up to the 12th. And the council will decide which one they think is the best. I think any one of those 3 is better than nothing. I feel strongly about that. And so I am gonna hope the council does adopt something, because it's really important.
I will second the motion as amended with the 3 different options for the full council to deliberate on. I will highlight that I am concerned that I heard from an Oakland Chamber representative what seemed to be a contradiction from what I heard from the other advocates about businesses in Jack London, Uptown, Downtown, having surveyed the businesses that are part of those business districts, and there seems to be a contradiction. So I want that cleared up before the next time we come to council.
Sure, there are many entities who seek to reach out to other entities, and sometimes some don't know what others have done, which is not surprising. We're a big city, that's happening. But,
yeah, I'll second Councilmember Gallo's motion.
Excuse me.
Laura has a question or comment?
Yes, thank you. Sorry, I was trying to address something you said earlier, but there was not a moment to jump in. It's not clear that if you were referring to building code enforcement, they would not be enforcing this because this is not a building code violation, and that's what they address. A department could be assigned to issue fines under this ordinance, but it would not, I just wanted to be clear that it would not be something that would be cited as a building code violation.
Okay, if I could clarify, I mean, code enforcement deals with things that go beyond building related things, like they build code enforcement will enforce the electric leaf blower ordinance.
Right, they can be assigned by the city attorney to, issue certain kinds of notices, like for violation of the leaf blower ordinance, but, I don't think it's obvious that it would be that department enforcing this because, as some of the public speakers mentioned, it's, they wouldn't necessarily have evidence of, they have to have certain evidence of a violation before they can issue a notice of violation. So if without witnessing the smoking, building code enforcement would not be able to enforce this.
Okay, so I will definitely meet with the city attorney's office and code enforcement division to clarify that before the 12th.
Sure.
Thank you for that. So we have a motion and a second on the table to go to the 12th.
Okay,
And this would be a non-consent.
yes. That was a motion made by Councilmember Giles, seconded by Councilmember Five, to approve as amended the recommendation of staff and to forward this item to the November 12th City Council agenda on non-consent with the amendments to provide the three
Yeah,
supplemental
these are amendment options that'll be in the packet.
the
Yeah.
amendment options in the packet. On roll, Councilmember Five,
Aye.
Councilmember Guile,
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins,
He's excused.
excused, and Chair Cobb.
Aye.
Thank you. Item number 4 passes with 3 ayes, 1 excused. Jenkins, to forward this item as amended to the November 12th City Council agenda on non-consent.
And thank you all who are here today for your comments and your work behind well before today, not just in Oakland but throughout the Bay Area. So really appreciate that. Excuse me. Excuse me. Miss Lake, we have at most we have 25 minutes, and then we'll have to stop no matter what. So what would our planning and building people, I'm so sorry for you guys being here, like to do?
I think it's probably best to put it over, and maybe we can talk offline about what the right meeting to go to is. There's some medical restrictions that we've got to plan around.
Okay, so we might have a special CD committee meeting or
Special or November or December. It's a study session, so we're okay.
Okay. So we're gonna my apologies for city staff that's still here, and anybody, I guess speakers are still allowed to comment on this item. So if you're welcome to comment. I apologize for you waiting so long. So if you could read item